It is American Western Weekend. Globe Life Field, Arlington, Texas, getting ready to play host to 2 nights of what has become one of the premier events in all of the world of Western sports. Joining me is the two-time announcer of the year in the PRCA. He, along with Anthony Lucia, the voices of the American. I say that because it always makes him blush a little bit. Garrett Yerigan's joining us. Garrett, thank you. I could also say Garrett Yerigan from Texas, knowing full well that the Oklahoman comes out in you sometimes when I say that. How the heck are you? It was good to visit with you.
I'm doing great. I'm just glad that you didn't introduce me as the former tractor driver at the American.
You know, you really have. Okay, I was going to go there, so I'm just going to start there. When the first time I ever met Garrett was it the first year of the American? It was one of the first years of the American.
Yeah.
And you were announcing big long slacks. I was doing big long slacks on the radio. Remember you and I sitting next to each other in the little outdoor arena right behind what is now the Drover in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And doing you were announcing a steer wrestling slack, and I was on rural radio broadcasting it until midnight, and then you were driving the tractor during all of that too.
Yeah, I forgot about the steer wrestling slack outside. Yeah, that was boy, look how far we've come, Steve. That was back in the day.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. What this has morphed into and the opportunity you and Anthony have this weekend. Saturday night, I was there a year ago. That place was full, Garrett. It was. It's got to be electric to have a chance to have that many people in your ear all night.
It is, and that is probably the question I have been asked the most from fans or industry colleagues, professionals, whatever. Is, man, is it really better in the baseball field than it was the football field? I said yes. For me, for my opinion, definitely better. And I'm not dogging AT&T Stadium at all. They were great hosts for 9 years. But for our sport and the realistic attendance numbers, much better house in Globe Life Field. 35,000 last year sold us out in Globe Life Field.
Right.
35,000 any year prior to that was a third full. So, just the theory of relativity and looking better and sounding better acoustics, you fill a house up, it sounds better than a third full. So yeah, and such great hosts, Globe Life Field, Sean Decker to Anthony Barkowski to Chris DeReicher and on down the line. I mean, their team is so hospitable and so welcoming. Rev Entertainment, their entertainment partners there, they truly make us feel welcome, not just another tenant.
Yeah. For folks who were 2020, we remember the year that the NFR was at Globe Life. They didn't set up the arena the same way. It didn't look to me like last year, but the way that it was set up, it was genuinely a fan-friendly environment. I mean, it was a good setup, I thought, for the arena.
Yeah. And I don't want to give all the trade secrets away because I don't know exactly when this is going to air. But expect a little bit different form or arena configuration this year. Not much. I mean, the main integrity is going to stay the same, but a few little things new here and there. But still, yes, very, very competitor friendly, very fan friendly. Because sometimes when you get those big arenas like we had at the NFR in 2020, it almost washes out the competition a little bit. It was still a great rodeo, don't get me wrong, but sometimes, animals will track further, the scores are longer, all those intricacies. But I think what Prefert and the American and Teton was able to put their heads together and learn from the NFR and take forward just, having a year of rodeo or having a rodeo in there and knowing how to make it better and stuff. I thought they really have a really good setup for both fans and contestants.
A year ago at the American, just to remind everybody, Jackie Crawford in the breakaway roping, Ty Harris in the tie down roping, won $600,000 apiece. That's $100,000 for winning the event. And then they split the $1 million side pot. The champions of the American last year, Casey Field in the bareback riding, who has had great luck at the American, Tyler Waguspak in the steer wrestling, Caleb Driggers and Junior Nagata. You got to watch some of the most successful athletes in the history of the American last year win. Casey, Caleb and Junior, Lisa Lockhart won the barrel race. Stetson Wright, remember, set records in both the bronc riding and the bull riding, winning both events on the same night. That had, in my memory, that had never happened before.
Nope,
it was a great show in 2023.
Well, not to mention all those things you mentioned, but also add in the ride-off between Dawson Hay and Stetson Wright in the bronc riding. Gosh, the whole night, from what you said to right there, that little add-on piece, Hollywood could have not scripted a more dramatic and exciting night of rodeo. I mean, I'll be honest, when that ride-off was, when the score's tied, and everybody on the announcer stand is just chaos. What do we do? Is there champions? What's the tiebreaker? They're just going like rats running around down there in front of me. And they're all like, it's this, and no, it's this, and no, it's it. And I said, everybody stop for a second. I'm not telling these people anything until somebody tells me in my, eye to eye. And I want you to say it twice to make sure that I understand, because whatever I tell these people is going to make them go nuts. And so then all of a sudden I heard somebody say, I think they ride off. And I was like, holy cow, that's awesome. I hope that's what happens.
Yeah.
And finally, James Miller turns around and he's standing right there in front of me and he says, ride off. And I said, say it again, James, ride off. And I was like, okay. And I'll never forget that moment of when I got on the mic and I said, okay, folks, the verdict is in. And it just went hushed over the building because everybody was just hanging on that moment. And I said, they get one more bucking horse. Whoa! The whole place just here, because that's sports, that's drama, that's like a shootout for the Stanley Cup. Extra innings in the World Series. All of those analogies. Overtime at the Super Bowl this year. That's what makes sports dramatic, is the unknown and the unpredictable. And you got two of the most infectious personalities in bronc riding with Dawson Hay and Stetson, that obviously there was, the controversy and the drama of, the actions, whatever. But man, what an exciting moment for our sport.
I was one of the people sitting in the stands, Garrett, when that was going on. So here's the perspective I'm going at it with, because having been, behind the scenes, my wife and the people around me are looking around, and my wife says, what do you think they're going to do? I said, I think they're going to have a write-off. And exactly what you said when you guys announced that was going to happen, because it was a minute or two.
It was. Yep, it was.
When you guys made that announcement, people slid to the edge of their seats. It was fun to be in the crowd and listen to people respond to that possibility. I guess that happens in Calgary. They'll have write-offs. I don't know that many other places where that happens. So
it is really neat. And I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of it as much as anybody, we get so caught up in bang, 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 get the rodeo over with, get on to the next thing. But there are extenuating circumstances like this when you have an opportunity to create a moment that I will never forget. And I'm sure there's probably some fans out there also. And even for Stetson and Dawson, win, lose, or draw, that's a moment you may never forget. Just in the moment, and one more horse for $100,000 and, all the implications. I think that's a moment when we all need to check ourselves and go, I don't care. Throw the timeline out the window. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Put the stopwatch away. We're going to have some fun right here.
Yeah. This is what sports is about.
It was a great write-off, and that was the other fun thing about it. I did an interview with Dawson's brother, Logan Hay, a week ago, and Logan is one of the guys who's eligible to win the $1 million this year. And I said, so what are you going to do when you win that $1 million? And he said, well, we'll see if I have a write-off with my brother this year. So wouldn't that be kind of an adventure?
Hey, that you thought it was dramatic with guys that weren't brothers for only $100,000. Imagine what it'd be guys that are brothers and one of them could win $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. What are you what do you remember over the last couple of years of, we talk about that write-off last year, and obviously that is a major highlight to you, but you started with the American back at Global or back at AT&T Stadium several years ago. This is how many for you now, Garrett?
So I won't give you the long version of my employment history, but the short version is
Started with driving the tractor, folks, and him being so nervous he couldn't stand it during the barrel race at Cowtown.
That is a true story. You think announcing in front of 35,000 will make you nervous? Go drive a tractor at a barrel race that somebody could win $1 million.
Yeah, in front of 300 barrel racers in the process. Yeah.
But anyway, so I have been on the microphone there every year except one since 2019. So what would that be? 6 minus 1, 5. So yeah, I was on there in 2019. I was what we call the third man in 2020. Then I was the red hat for production in 2021. And then I've been back on the mic in 2, 3, and now 4.
Yeah. There is nobody that I can talk to. You just brought up the red hat thing. There probably is nobody that I can talk to among my brothers in the rodeo announcing business who have got their thumb on the pulse of good production the way that Garrett does. And I mean that as a compliment. Garrett grew up in the announcing business and the production business. His dad, Dale Yerigan's a longtime man in charge of the IPRA. And there are stories about Garrett Yerigan announcing slacks when he was 7 years old. I mean, that's Garrett's history. But the production elements of this rodeo, there are about 1 million moving parts behind the scenes that you and Anthony have to manage to make all of this work. It's not the simplest rodeo on the planet. There's a lot happening that probably none of us ever see that you guys are in front of.
I remember last year, Anthony and we were in that building from about, I think we were in there at 9 a.m. and we were in either a meeting or rehearsal nonstop until the show started at, I think it was 6 o'clock start last year. By the way, 3:30 p.m. start this year on Saturday. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Last year, I mean, just meetings and rehearsals on top of meetings and rehearsals. And yes, it is mentally draining. Obviously, it's not a physical, exhaustion, but it's a mental drain because you have to just be so tuned in for so long that, when it's all said and done that night, you just like, you're just numb almost in your brain. But at a rodeo like that, where you've got so many pieces from video to lighting to audio to competition to live television to in-house video to pyro to scoring time, all the facets, plus you throw in a side of the business that's never seen rodeo before. Like last year, our lighting and audio and pyro and like the production elements, they had never seen rodeo before, so we had to take some time to explain just terminology and how the sport works and things like that. And even again this year, there's some new players involved. Matter of fact, our executive producer owns a company called Fuhr Productions. His name's Michael Fuhr, and he just got done producing the Super Bowl, legitimately producing the Super Bowl. So those are the kind of connections that we have now in rodeo and in the American. And he openly, from the first time I shook his hand, he said, "Hey, I know production, I know the Super Bowl, I know those kind of things, but I don't know rodeo. So that's why I really need you guys to help me there." And he's been super great about asking questions, and never once has he acted like he knows everything or holier than thou. But that's the kind of stuff that, yes, it's mentally exhausting, but that's the stuff that intrigues me. Like if anybody knows me well, I'm a rodeo nerd. Yeah. I love the video and audio and production and how it all happens. Like I love to build shows and see it all come to fruition. And when I'm sitting in my computer a month before the rodeo and I'm looking at this on paper, I love to close my eyes and think, okay, now after we do this, I want to do this, but can I do this because I got to come in this gate when they're leaving that gate, and all the logistics of putting a show together. That's the stuff that kind of makes me happy and oddly satisfying, I guess. And don't get me wrong, I still love announcing rodeos. I'm not quitting anytime soon, so don't anybody get any ideas. But
You saw that look I just gave you, didn't you?
yeah, but other than that, man, the production. So when I get to go be a part of Fort Worth or Cheyenne or the American or whatever, when I was fortunate enough to help with the national finals in 2020 in Arlington, man, that's the stuff that it scratches that itch every once in a while and just really makes me stay sharp in my mind of what can I do better as an announcer to help bring every rodeo I do to the next level.
What can you learn from a guy who comes from outside of rodeo but has done events like the Super Bowl? I mean, that he can walk into a rodeo and he's going to learn rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to believe that we can learn some things from him.
Hands down. And that's why I'm such a fan of going to other sports. As a matter of fact, I was just having this conversation a couple days ago. I love going to NHL games, MLB games, NBA games. I've never got to go to an NFL game yet, but I want to because whether you like the sport or not, whether you can sit there and watch them throw balls or hit balls or shoot balls and hoops, whatever. Like if you'll just let your mind look at the big picture, look at the fan experience, the lights, the sound, the mascots, the game hosts, the activations, the promos. Look at the big picture of what they're doing for the fan. Because think about this: you go to an NBA game, and they're only playing 48 minutes.
Right.
There's 48 minutes of contest, but you're there 2.5 hours.
Yep.
So what are they doing to fill a 2.5 hour window minus 48 minutes with engaging content that makes people want to come back night after night? I mean, what makes somebody want to be a season ticket holder? What makes somebody think, man, I have saved up for 6 months. I'm taking my family. We're going to the NBA game versus watching it at home. So that's where, they're so lucky because let's use the Mavs, for example. They have how many home games? Hundreds or lots and lots of home games. They have the same team. They have the same promotions team, and they can be creative. They can, hey, I've been thinking about this. Let's try this one night. Okay. If it works, great. They can build off of it. If it flops, nope, trash that one. But hey, we tried. Rodeo, we have 2 or 3 nights in a city. Each rodeo has its own promotions team that has some rodeos are 1 performance. Some rodeos are, Fort Worth 25. So, on average, you got 2 or 3 nights to try to come up with ideas for engaging content. And I think sometimes we revert back to Old Faithful just because we know it works. But to your question, having a guy like this come in, he can bring new, fresh ideas of fan engagement and production. And, he can start a question with, hey, I don't know if this will work for rodeo, but at the Super Bowl, we did XYZ. Right. And then we can take that discussion and go, yeah, I don't see why we can't try it. Sure. So that's what I'm excited about. We've had a couple of conversations with Michael just over the Zoom and stuff, but that's what I'm so excited about when we get there is what can I learn from him from other sports that we can then take to whether it be Waxahachie, Texas, a 2-perf rodeo county fair, or Cheyenne Frontier Days. There's all kinds of different things that could, benefit rodeo in the long run to maybe not affect the sport at all because it's holy. I mean, the sport is traditional cowboy, but the fan experience, we can always be looking for ways to improve that.
It's interesting. I did an interview with a very good friend of yours 2 days ago for my Legends of the Hall podcast this week. Tom Hersig, the CEO of the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo. And Tom used exactly the same phrase, fan experience. Talking about how do we make this, to me, that is a major, we are selling arenas out everywhere. Whether it's because of the coverage we've gotten and the exposure on the Cowboy Channel now with Fox Sports, with the American being carried on Fox Sports, whether it's all of the PBR events on Ride Pass and Pluto TV, whether it's Yellowstone, it's a combination of all of the above, whether it's the fact that we just have a really fun, wholesome sport that I think people want to go to right now. I think that is a big part of it. But rodeo committee people, if you're listening to this, here is I don't get on soapboxes very often. Everything you do, every thought you have, try to equate it to how are we going to make the fan experience better for our ticket buyers so we can continue to sell these things out and continue to have these big loud crowds that are so much fun for people like Garrett and I to talk to. That to me is the one soapbox I would crawl on.
Yep, and I would stand right up there with you. The one question that I ask, not all the time, but often enough, that always invokes a response of, well, I don't know. The question is, does that sell tickets?
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you got a committee that, and I'm not going to pick on anyone here in specific, but if you got a committee that comes up with some wild idea and you as the announcer is like, ooh, I don't know,
we've never done it that way before.
Yeah, like that's the question I usually come back with is, okay, how does that sell tickets? And it usually will make them go, well, I don't know. Okay, think about that. Because if you just, and I'll use this for an example. If you just walk out some random person just to say hi, is that selling tickets? No. But if you come out there with Matt Merritt at Fort Worth and he's got an air gun full of stress balls and he's got them up and dancing and laughing and clapping and waving, looking for that, or Chick-fil-A fan of the night or something like that, that sells tickets because then that engages the fans to come back and, man, that Fort Worth so much fun. That clown, he came out there and he shot stress balls at us and he looked for there was a little kid dressed up like a Chick-fil-A cow and he gave him 52 sandwiches and a buckle and a stuffed animal. I mean, that's the stuff people talk about. They're not going to talk about, hey, I had to throw you the other night. They walked Steve Kenyon out there. I'm just picking on you, Steve. They walked Steve Kenyon out there to say hi. Or Joe Schmo or whoever. I mean,
Steve Kenyon and Joe Schmo have a lot in common. That's kind of the way
no, they don't. Steve Kenyon's way more talented. But I mean, that's the thing. I'm with you. I think committees sometimes I don't know how to say this correctly. I think, yes, they need to sometimes step back and go, how is this affecting the fan engagement, the fan experience? Does it sell tickets? Is it benefiting our rodeo as a whole?
Yeah. Garrett Yerigan is joining us. This is our Classic Equine featured interview of the week. We're talking about the American Rodeo, which is Saturday. It is American Western weekend. Do you and Anthony have much to do with Friday night? They started that big night on Friday night with the American Performance Horsemen. I think it's a cool night because you bring the greatest cutters, reiners, and rein cow horses in the world to town. There's a Luke Bryant concert after that. That's at 7:00 Friday. Do you guys have much to do with that, or is that just a night to put your feet up and relax?
Night to put our feet up and relax. And I'm so thankful. I would do it in a heartbeat if they wanted me to announce it. But I love watching that event because as much as I'm a rodeo fan, I think what they do is so cool from agility of those horses. And matter of fact, before the NFR this year, I went and watched the celebrity cutting at the NCHA finals in Fort Worth. Just had a night and went over there and watched it. And that was, I was loving that. I mean, of course, those weren't the $1 million professional stuff. It was, Jen Landon and Forey Smith and some of those guys from Yellowstone and whatever. But I had a great time with that. So getting to watch this event last year, I told my now fiance, I said, let's just go up in the stand. I had a couple extra tickets. I said, let's just go up in the stands and just watch, just see, like I said, experience the fan side of things. Let's just go. Let's go see. He's like, okay. So we went up to the concession stand, got us something to eat and drink, and just went and sat down. And we had planned on only sitting up there for the opening and maybe 10, 15 minutes. Then we'd go down and see our friends and whatever on the floor. We ended up sitting up there for 3/4 of the night just because it was just so good. I mean, it was so engaging and stuff. And again, you got the 5 best cutters, reiners, and rein cow horse riders in the world and the best horse flesh. I loved it. So again, I'm glad that we have that night off to just watch. So short answer to your question, Anthony and I have the night off. Jason Jackson will announce that night. And then Anthony and I will be on the mic for Saturday.
Got it. Saturday does start at the start time at AmericanRodeo.com is 3:25 for the opening ceremonies. Garrett rounded it off to 3:30. The doors open at 2. So that's when everything starts on Saturday. It's on Fox
But I will
Sports
say this,
Television.
noon on Saturday, they do all the tailgate outside. There'll be live music and stuff starting at noon. So, come early, get parked. Should be, if the weatherman doesn't lie to us, it should be a beautiful day. So yeah, come out early, tailgate with us, get parked early, and come hang out. It'll be worth the day.
You sent me a copy of the notes on the contestant list, and I've just kind of been scrolling through it while we've been doing this interview. I want to talk about the tie down roping for a minute. Nobody on the planet is hotter in pro rodeo right now than Shad Mayfield.
Ooh, yeah.
Riley Webb is the defending world champion. Shane Hanchey is a former champion at the American. I think he's $1 million eligible this year.
He is. Yep. He won the American in 21.
And there's this guy named Caleb Smith who I could have sworn retired. And he just went to Houston and won 2 performances in his Super Series, and he's won the American twice. There could be some stories to tell about tie down roping.
Yeah. Caleb, I love Caleb. I am a huge Caleb Schmidt fan, and not only is he a great human being, but what he has overcame both personally and professionally. That's a guy that's a prime example of when life deals him a curveball, his next at bat, he's hitting a grand slam. I mean, from the family tragedies to coming back and winning world titles to, I'll go ahead and say it, kicked out of the NFR in 2020 due to a positive COVID test, comes back and wins the world the next year. The other statistic that I don't think we as announcers have ever talked about enough, maybe you have, he has won the NFR aggregate in the exact same years he's won the world. So you talk about a guy that shows up to Vegas Vegas with one thing on his mind, and that's win. He gets all he can. He's won the NFR every year that he's won the world title.
Yeah, and Ride has always ridden one of the greatest horses ever. When they put Caleb in the Hall of Fame, they should put Pockets in the Hall of Fame at that same year.
Amen.
They should both go in at the same time. I was just looking at the bull riding. The bull riding field is kind of interesting this year, Garrett, because you don't have the reigning world champion Kai Hamilton. You don't have the last 3 world champions, any of them, in the bull riding field this year. Sage Kimsey's got an injury to his elbow. Stetson Wright is out for however long Stetson's going to be out. Kai says he hopes he can be back around the 4th of July. The door is wide open for some guys. Am I right in putting it that way?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the 5 guys that are $1 million eligible, Cody Teal, world champ, he's on a hot streak right now. Matt Palmer, young guy from Northeast Oklahoma. Chase Doherty, NFR Cowboy, won the aggregate in 18. Jeff Askey, who, just like Cody Teal, Cody and Jeff are kind of almost becoming the old guys in the locker room. But man, they're still riding as great as ever. Jeff just won his Super Series at Houston. And then Cody Nance, PBR world finalist many times over. He's $1 million eligible, and he looked phenomenal at Abilene at the contender final. First guy out of the gate was 89 points. So I'd say there's no rust there. And then the other 4 guys, Jared Parsonage, Creek Young, who got filled in because of Stetson and Kai not being healthy. And then Trey and Josh, obviously Josh, the 3-time reserve world champ. So, yeah, big opportunity for somebody to really make a statement, because think about those facts I just gave you. 9 guys, 5 of them are $1 million eligible. So, not to sound like Hunger Games here, but may the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah, exactly. The bareback riding is always the first 2 years of the American. Richie Champion won the $1 million outright the first year, and then
Taylor Price, what?
Thank you. Taylor's name was on my tongue 30 seconds ago, and I started talking and forgot it. Taylor Price won it the next year. He split it that year. What a great way to kick off the rodeo, and somehow those fireworks always happen. What are you looking at in the bareback riding and the saddle bronc riding? Because both of those fields are loaded.
Well, first, let me say this. I don't know if he's going to watch this or not, but I'm going to miss Casey Field at the American. That guy is Mr. American, Mr. Bareback riding, in my opinion. But he always, I don't know what it was about the American that got his blood pumping extra. but he was always just the guy for me to watch, and his energy and just infectious attitude and stuff. He'll be missed. So Casey, if you watch this, I'm gonna miss you this week, buddy. But the bareback riding, I think, because that event is just filled with such a sharp young class of guys, I think that's what makes it such a good start. It's obviously a very snappy event. I'm excited to watch, obviously, the reigning world champ, Rocker Steiner, who so far is on path to win every rodeo in Texas this year.
Yeah.
Or at least ones in big arenas and stadiums. One Fort Worth, one San Antonio. So we'll see if he can keep up the Tarrant County, North Texas, Central Texas success. Kate Saunier, he's riding great. The qualifiers: Taylor Broussard, Bradley Miller, Jacob Lees, Cole Reiner, and a two-time American champ, Tilden Hooper. Man, I think the story there. Imagine if 18-year-old Bradley Miller can win $1 million. Like that would mean so much to him and his family. For me, as far as a heartfelt story goes, that would be so awesome.
Yeah, Bradley's dad is college rodeo coach at Sam Houston State, and I agree with you because I really like Bradley Miller. He's having a great season. He was good last year in his rookie year, and he's kicked it up another notch this year.
Yeah. Horsepower, I talked about this a little bit off air. Calgary Stampede, Championship, and Frontier Rodeo. You can see there too. Lots of NFR animals. Lots of great bloodline, lots of graded coconut babies in there. Bronc riding, which I don't know if this is where you were going to segue to next, but the world champion Explosive Skies is in the shootout round. Shootout round in the bronc ride. I'm a huge bronc riding fan anyway. Explosive Skies, Tokyo Bubbles, Exotic Warrior, and Dandy Delight, all Calgary Stampede horses. So I'm just looking at the track record here. Explosive Skies, highest score 94 last year. Tokyo Bubbles 90.5. Exotic Warrior 92. Dandy Delight 92.5. So if we are under 90 in the short round of the bronc riding, shame on those guys.
Yeah. No kidding. Do you have the list of, you might have sent it to me and I just haven't scrolled down far enough. Do you have the list of the final 4 horses in the bareback riding?
Yep. So it is breaking news. So the first 2 are Frontier, second 2 are Calgary. Breaking news, went to the NFR last year. Gunfire, world champion bareback horse there, 22. Calgary's Blastin' Sand went to the NFR last year, and a horse that's just solid, timeless, still a short round horse, Agent Lynx, horse that Tilden's won Fort Worth on. I think Rocker might have won San Antonio on, or somebody won San Antonio a few years ago. But Jayco split the win at Puyallup last year on that horse. So just all if you're a bucking horse fan, forget the Cowboys. If you're a bucking horse fan, you need to come Saturday.
Yeah, that's always been one of the highlights to me. Just all the years that I've watched the American, put it on the radio, been involved in the TV broadcast before Teton Ridge took it over. It has always been, if you are a fan of great rodeo livestock, this thing has always been one of the premier events just because of that.
And that is all hats off, compliments to Frontier Rodeo. Heath Stewart, Jerry Nelson, they've been the primary since the inception. Now, obviously, there's been lots of friends come in, from Rafter G and Assault for the $1 million in 2014 to Pickett's to this year championship in Calgary. Smith Pro Rodeos has been there before. I think Pete Carr has been there for. I know I'm forgetting somebody, so my apologies. But big kudos to Heath Stewart. Because that guy, I don't know that there is a human on this earth that cares more about having great bucking animals and great time event cattle at a rodeo than that guy. And it showed. 9-time PRCA contractor of the year the past 9 years in a row. So I know we tease him a lot and love to play jokes back for it, but super good job to Heath Stewart over 11 years now of livestock.
Garrett, I've kept you way longer than I asked before, and I really appreciate it.
You're good.
To Saturday night, the rodeo is over, the Post Malone concert is going on, and you have a chance, probably for the first time all day, to just sit down and take a deep breath. This is a very for a rodeo announcer, people think, okay, these guys talk for a living. They don't work that hard. This is a full day. This is a day that, I mean, you're going to be, I'm guessing you're probably going to want to just go sit down someplace for a couple minutes and decompress, because there's a lot that's going to have happened in front of you for the 3 or 4 hours before that.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. People give us a hard time about all you do is talk. Yeah, all we do is talk, but it's the mental side that is
Yeah.
so draining, because you have to be so on your game, paying attention to what's going on in the arena, what implications it has, rules, formats. I mean, tiebreakers, all of the scenarios you have to be on for. And our show is scheduled, so we start the first opening ceremonies at 3:25, 3:30, and we'll go. The long round is scheduled to go until 7.
Mhm.
No, I'm sorry, that's not right. The long round is scheduled to go till 6. Then Aaron Watson plays for 45 minutes. Then we have a little brief buffer there. 7, we're scheduled to come with the shootout round, the round of 4, and then 9 o'clock, Post Malone is scheduled. So it's a full day, and I maybe shouldn't have gave all those details, but I'm just being transparent here. I mean, it's a long day. So for Anthony and I, like, that's a hard rodeo to pace yourself at, because you get so excited because it's the greatest of the great, and the animal athletes are great, and the two-legged athletes are great, and you just want to go. But he and I have to constantly remind each other, hey, pace yourself. We got that whole shootout round coming, and that's where the heat's coming.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, for people, for Wayne Brooks and Will Rasmussen that do Salinas, long performance there. I mean, I'm just thinking of long performance rodeos. If you've got one that's 3 hours plus, I mean, you can think, man, that's 3 hours. These guys are in there for 6.5 or whatever, 5.5, whatever it is. And granted, we have that Aaron Watson break in there, but still, your mind is what's so exhausted. I mean, physically, I could stand up and go watch the Post Malone or walk back to the hotel or whatever. But it's just that mental side of it that you just want to go get in a quiet room, and just like you said, all the stimulation is gone, and you can just relax.
There was a question I was going to ask you earlier, and I quite frankly forgot to. Are there a couple? I forget how the American handles this. So, is the markout rule waived, or is there an adjustment on the markout rule? Do they do anything?
So, if the rules stay the same as they were in Abilene, there is a markout rule. Traditional, got to have them up here, or it's a no score. But I believe this is new this year. I don't remember us having done it before. Instant replays are a thing. There are challenges, because we actually had that at Abilene. I'm trying to think who it was. Maybe Ross Griffin, maybe. There was a bronc rider that judges said he missed him out. And, of course, all those guys, $1 million on the line. Absolutely, you're going to challenge it if you think you had up there. And he went over there, threw the challenge flag, and they reviewed it. Ended up still being a no score, but, I mean, hey, worth a shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is a markout rule, but it, amongst other things, are challengeable.
Got it. Okay, there you go. The American Western Weekend is this weekend, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Garrett Yerigan, 2-time announcer of the year in the PRCA, and along with Anthony Lucia, one of the voices of the American. And Garrett, Garrett's heard me say this to him in private a bunch of times. I cannot tell you how much I respect this young man's talent, his ability, and how much I value his friendship. And it's been an awesome ride to see how things have gone for you in your life, and for you and Anthony both. You guys have really kind of taken this whole thing by storm. And I'm not supposed to say that because I'm not supposed to brag, but I'm really proud of you. Anyway, good luck. Enjoy the hell out of it this weekend.
Thank you. Everybody come see us, AmericanRodeo.com. Get your tickets. Come on.
There you go. Get your tickets. If you can't be there, it's on Fox Sports. And you can watch the action this weekend. Saturday afternoon, 3:30 Central Time is when it will. 3:30 Central, right?
3:30 Central Saturday. It will not be live on Fox.
Okay.
It will be a delayed broadcast. The round of 10 will air later that night. I'm not going to say the time because I'm not confident, but check your listings. It will be Saturday night. And then the shootout round will air the next weekend on Fox Network. So long round will be on FS1. I'm a Dish customer, so it's channel 150 for me. But then the following weekend, it will air on Fox Network, like your local Fox channel.
Okay, there you go. You can get all that information at AmericanRodeo.com and find out all about it. Garrett, enjoy the heck out of it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Steve.